Hello and welcome to Precon Decon, the video series where I deconstruct the pre-constructed decks of Magic the Gathering's history. In this video we're going to look at the second Planeswalker deck from Aether Revolt, which is Tezzeret, Master of Metal, which is a blue and black deck. Let's take a look at the deck list. So we've got 20 creatures, 8 artifacts, 3 sorceries, 2 enchantments, 1 instant, 25 land, and of course 1 Planeswalker. Got a mana curve off to the side there. Let's start looking at the contents of the deck, starting with Mr. Tezzeret himself, the Master of Metal. So, 4 a blue and a black for a 5 loyalty Planeswalker. Let's look at his abilities. So his +1 is reveal cards from top of your library until you reveal an artifact card. Put that card into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Right off the bat, I think that's a really good ability, just to dig until you find an artifact. Majority of the deck is artifacts. So yeah, this I think we'll always find something pretty useful. His -3, target opponent loses life equal to the number of artifacts you control. Like I said, she's got a lot of artifacts in the deck, so this is this could potentially win you the game the turn you play him, because you just immediately pop his -3 and potentially make your opponent lose 5, 6, maybe more life. So yeah, it's pretty good. And then his -8, gain control of all artifacts and creatures target opponent controls. Not until end turn, that is a permanent control effect. So yeah, 3 pretty decent abilities, I think. Yeah, that +1 and -3, I think are pretty good. So yeah, I like Tezzeret. Like him a lot more than the Ajani Valiant Protector we looked at in the last video. This is definitely my favourite of the 2 decks. So then his signature cards. So 2 Tezzeret's Betrayal, 3 a blue and a black. Destroy a creature with no limitations, which is really nice. And then search the library or graveyard for Tezzeret, Master of Metal. Reveal it into hand if you search the library shuffle. So standard search, Planeswalker search spell. The fact it's removal is actually just really, really strong. Really like this. Anyway, it is at sorcery speed, which is not great, but I think pretty much all the tutor spells, thinking about it, are sorcery speed, so this is fine. So yeah, this is I think in terms of the Planeswalker search spells, it's pretty good because it is removal, which is really, really good. Then we've got 3 Tezzeret Simulacrum. So 3 mana for 2/3. Target opponent lose. You can tap it. Target opponent loses 1 life. If you control a Tezzeret Planeswalker, they lose 3 life instead. Yeah, that's pretty solid. Kind of nice that. Actually, like the Ajani's companion one in the last deck, that it's not. It doesn't feel too overly reliant on having the accompanying Planeswalker out. I suppose it's fine to have 3 mana just for a 2/3 that just taps to make an opponent lose a life. I suppose that's fine. It's okay. I mean, it's still kind of underwhelming. I think all these Planeswalker buddy cards are, honestly, but it's fine. It's one of the better ones, I think. And then this is really weird. 4 Pendulum of Patterns, which is, it's just here. It's it's a cheap artifact, which is kind of what the deck wants. 2 mana artifact. When it enters the battlefield, you gain 3 life, which is, yeah, that's okay. You can spend 5, tap, and sacrifice to draw a card. So yeah, this is, it's fine, isn't it? It's okay. It's a cheap artifact, which, as we'll see later in the deck, actually matters. This can actually end up being sort of a mana rock, and the 3 life when it comes in is sort of okay. So it's not completely useless until you sacrifice it. It's okay. Right, so one of the other rares in the deck is Quicksmith Spy. So 3 and a blue for 2/3. When Quicksmith Spy enters the battlefield, target artifact you control gains tap, draw a card for as long as you control Quicksmith Spy. This is really nice. There's a red one as well, which basically turns an artifact into gives it a ping ability, and it's a really fun mirrored pair, I think. I like this design of the giving a artifact an extra ability as long as you have this this creature. I think that's pretty solid. So yeah, I like this. Obviously, aside from that, it's fairly unimpressive. It's 4 mana for a 2/3 that does nothing else, but I say if you give this tap, draw a card, requires no other mana, it's just tap down 2 something like one of the Pendulum of Patterns or something. That's pretty good, I think. And then, yeah, pretty good rare. And then the other rare is Merchant's Dockhand. So 1 mana for a 1/2. You can pay 3 blue and tap it and tap X untapped artifacts you control to look at the top X cards of your library, put 1 into hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. So it can be any card. It's not has to be an artifact card, which is actually kind of what I thought it was when I sort of skim read it for the first time. This is okay. Obviously that ability is kind of expensive. You have to kind of go pretty full in with it. But it does give you some card selections. I guess what else are you going to do with a 1/2? Maybe if you get this later in the game, what else is it going to do? At least helps you dig for something that's more useful. It's okay. I prefer the Quicksmith Spy, but the Dockhand is okay as well. Then we've got single treasure keeper, so 4 mana for a 3/3. When it dies, reveal. There's a lot of actually digging in this deck to a lot of revealing from the top until you find something. When it dies, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a non-land card with mana value 3 or less. You can cast it without paying its mana cost, and then put all revealed cards not cast this way on the bottom of your library in a random order. I think I should have checked this first. I think this lets you ignore timing restrictions. So, like, if you reveal a sorcery or an artifact or something, you could cast it, like, say, in the middle of combat or something, or an opponent's turn. I think someone's gonna have to put something in the comments about that. But yeah, but yeah, and it is May, I suppose. So yeah, this is okay, kind of a fun ability. Right, so then we got quite a few cards with Improvise. So Improvise is basically Convoke, but for artifacts. Convoke being, a mechanic that we've seen in Ravnica before. So Improvise is your artifacts can help cast the spell, which I actually think is very intuitive, nice reminder text actually. Each artifact you tap after you've done activating mana abilities pays for 1 colorless. So like on Bastion Inventor, you tap 3 artifacts while casting it. It reduces that pays for 3 colorless. So I think that's pretty fun. With all the improvising, I suppose it's like Convoke. It's like you're trying to find the sweet spot when what is the minimum number I need to convoke to make this feel like a really good deal in terms of mana spent. And I think the golden number is about 2 or 3. If you improvise for that much, then you're starting to get a really good deal. Because if you improvise, say, Bastion Inventor for 2, if you tap down 2 artifacts, say the Pendulum of Patterns, then even just 2, then you're getting a 4/4 with hexproof for only 4 mana, which is obviously pretty good. Same with the Windkin Raiders. But yeah, so Bastion Inventor is 6 mana with Improvise for a 4/4 with hexproof, which is really solid. Actually quite difficult to deal with because it's obviously pretty strong and has hexproof, so dodges a lot of removal. Windkin Raiders, 4 and double blue for a 4/3 with Improvise and flying. So this is the thing. If you sort of tap 1 artifact, it's basically Air Elemental, which is fine for 5 mana to be a flyer with 4 power. But say if you tap more artifacts, then it starts really feeling like a really good deal. And then we've got we've got 1 Fenhauler, 6 and a black for a 5/5. Can't be blocked by artifact creatures. And again, has Improvise. So again, if you tap 2 artifacts and get that down to 5 mana, that's okay, I think. So I think 2 is the minimum you want to be doing with Improvise. You got a single Barricade Breaker, 7 mana for a 7/5 with Improvise. It has to attack every turn if able. So yeah, again, get that down to 5 by improvising for 2. That's a pretty chunky attacker for only 5 mana. And the same with Foundry Assembler, 5 mana for a 3/3 with Improvise. Again, getting a 3/3 for 3. It doesn't have any other abilities, which is a little bit of a shame, but that's me being a bit greedy. Again, absolutely fine. And then that's pretty much all the creatures with Improvise. And then we've also got an Ironclad Revolutionary, so 4 and double black for a 4/4. When it ends the battlefield, you may sacrifice an artifact, and if you do, put 2 +1/+1 counters on Ironclad Revolutionary, and each opponent loses 2 life. So again, you've got quite a lot of little chaff artifacts. I keep going back to the Pendulum of Patterns, but it's the one. You've got 4 of them, so it's fairly you have them. 6 mana to get a 6/6 and make an opponent lose 2 life. There's definitely worse things you can do with 6 mana. So yeah, I like this guy. I like this the Ironclad Revolutionary. Pretty cool, I think. And then we've got 2 Dund Operative, so 1 a black for a 2/2. As long as you control an artifact, you almost certainly will. Gets +1/+0, has Death Touch. So yeah, being a 3/2 with Death Touch for only 2 mana is really solid, I think. I really like that. We've got 2 Augmenting Automatons, 1 mana for a 1/1. Spend 1 and a black to give it +1/+1 turn 10, so a basic shade ability. Again, this is a nice cheap creature that you can use for Improvise costs, I suppose. But late game, if you've got the mana, it can sort of punch up a bit if you sink mana into it. And a single Duara Peafowl, 4 mana for a 2/4. You can spend 1 blue to give it flying turn 10. It's pretty basic and pretty straightforward, but yeah, it's okay. It's okay. At least it's got a big high toughness for blocking. And then a single Ornithopter, lovely Kaladeshi Ornithopter, which looks so nice. Just 0 mana for a 0/2 flying. So essentially a mana rock in there, because I was about to say you don't have a way of increasing artifact creatures' power and toughness, but literally the next card. Ornithopter's great. And especially better if you then put Tezzeret's Touch on it. So Tezzeret's Touch getting into the non-creature spells. So 1 a blue and a black. It's an aura that goes on an artifact. The enchanted artifact becomes a creature with base power and toughness 5, until in addition to other types. When the enchanted artifact is put into a graveyard, return that card to its owner's hand. So this is really, really nice, I think. You can turn little tiny cheap artifacts like the Pendulum Patterns, like the Ornithopter, give them base power and toughness 5/5, which is obviously really significant. Potentially this turn 3 as well, which at that point a 5/5 is obviously really, really good. And then even if it does die, it just goes back to your hand, so you don't lose it. You lose Tezzeret's touch, but you don't lose the artifact it was on, which is really nice actually. This is a really nice card. I really like this. We've got a single reverse engineer, so 3 in double blue with Improvised, so non-creature spells can have Improvise as well. Draw 3 cards. So again, Improvise this for only 2, you're drawing 3 cards for 3 mana, that's pretty good. It is at sorcery speed, which this is me being greedy, I'd love it if this was instant, but then it would be quite a bit more expensive. But yeah, again, Improvise this for 2, I think that's the magic number. We've got single essence extraction, 1 and double black, does 3 damage to target creature and gain 3 life. Yep, just a quite straightforward removal spell, a bit of life gain. Actually, a fair bit of life gain in this deck thing, more than there was in the Ajani deck, which is weird. But I think it's a perfectly fine little removal spell. We've got 2 Implement of Examination, 3 mana. For an artifact, you can pay 1 blue and sacrifice it to draw a card. Actually, a lot of card draw in this as well, thinking about it. In addition to all those dig effects. And when Implement of Examination is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, draw a card. So you get to draw 2 cards of this when you sacrifice it, which actually makes it pretty strong. There is an implement kind of aligned with each color, and they all have this. When they go into the graveyard, you get the card draw as well. So this. This is essentially a slow divination, isn't it? Because you have to pay 3, and then pay the other blue sacrifice to draw 2 cards. You get what I'm saying? I think it's pretty good. And then we've got 2 Universal Solvents, 1 mana for an artifact. Has 7 and tap it and sacrifice it to destroy target permanent. Can be any permanent, which is really, really nice. That ability is really expensive, but if you play it early on, then you've got it hanging around. Ready for to pay improvise costs, and also I find cards like this, you play it early, and you may take a while to build up to it, and it's just something opponents normally forget about, and then suddenly you'll be like, right, I've got 7 mana now, I'm just going to kill your big creature or whatever, and they're like, oh yeah, because you had that thing which I've completely forgotten about for the past 6 turns because it wasn't doing anything like that. Exactly. So I like Universal Solvent, just the fact it has it can sort of tackle anything. Really like it. And then we've got 4 Submerged Boneyards, which is just a basic blue-black dual land, and then 11 Islands and 10 Swamps. So I actually really like this deck. Actually, I like it a lot more than the Ajani one. Just kind of like what I said about the Nissa one, because I just think the focus is a lot tighter on what it's trying to do, which is in this case just a bunch of stuff with artifacts, and I think it's doing a pretty good job of it. Let's talk about maybe some alternate rares. So I did like the Quicksmith Spy. I'm not so crazy about the Dockhand robot thing. I can't remember what it was called. So here's some ideas, I think, for alternate rares. So Scrap Trawler is 3 mana for a 3/2. Whenever it or another artifact you control is put into a graveyard, you can return to your hand an artifact in your graveyard that has a lesser mana value. So you can just, if your expensive stuff dies, you get back something cheaper, and that just kind of keeps happening. So that could have been, I think, kind of fun. Battle of the Bridge is this really nice kind of story spotlight card. So X and a black with Improvise. Type creature gets -X till end turn. You gain X life. So that would have been great. There's just a bit of a big removal spell that you can use. You can power up with all your artifacts. And Inspiring Statuary, just 3 mana artifact. Non-artifact spells you cast have Improvise. This is the one I'm kind of a bit iffy about, whether or not it could have been used. I think Battle at the Bridge or Scrap Trawler would have been better. But Inspiring Statue, I think, could have found a place. Now you've got enough non-artifact spells, I think, with Improvise that could benefit from having it. So yeah, that was an option there. And there was sort of enough options. I thought there'd be a second slide. Now, normally when I do this, it's because I think the deck was pretty bad and there was so many cards that could have been here. In this case, I think it was just Kaladesh was just really good for artifact synergies, obviously, and there's just some other cards that could have fit in. I would have been happy to see them. So Efficient Construction, 3 and a blue for an enchantment. Whenever you cast an artifact spell, you also make a Thopter token. That would have been pretty nice. Gear Seeker Serpent is 5 and double blue for a 5/6. It's 1 less for every artifact you control, so it kind of already has Improvise itself in a way. And you spend 5 in the blue to make it unblockable for a turn, which is pretty solid. And also Tidy Conclusion, which is just a bit of removal and also a bit of extra life. So actually, you could have gone like quite a lot of life gain in this to swallow out, because like I think that would have helped, because I feel like the deck is kind of like a bit slower, a bit grindier, but you could have had potentially a quicker game if you got like Tezzeret's touchdown on like an Ornithopter like pretty early on, start swinging with like a 5/5 in the air like really quickly. I mean, you've only got 2 Tezzeret's touch and one Ornithopter, but it's possible. So yeah, overall I quite liked this deck. I'd like to know, obviously, what you think. What do you think of Improvise as the artifact equivalent of Convoke? If you've got any thoughts or stories or comments or opinions about the deck, stick a comment below. I'll give those a read. Always love reading people's comments about these decks. But yes, we're now done with Kaladesh. That's the thing. We've only got 2 Planeswalker decks per set. So we're actually really flying through these. So didn't really get to talk about Kaladesh that much, really. I did enjoy obviously what we did see, but there's a whole lot of range of other things. But we've got to stick to the decks that are available. So in the next video, we're going to start off with Amonkhet and look at the decks in those. So until then, thanks for watching, listening, and have a great day.